Freedom! Fuck yeah! Stand up for Australia! Fucking yeah! Freedom! Fuck yeah! Braveheart! Freedom! Yeah, how you doing? It's your boy, Tom Tanuki here. I brought my Anon mask and I'm here to cover the anti-lockdown rallies. Sorry, they're not anti-lockdown anymore. This one's different. This is anti-mandatory vaccination. So everyone else has brought their Anon masks out with me. Fucking the corny banners, and they're all ready to chant freedom like suburban fucking Bravehearts. I haven't covered this lot for ages, hey. I haven't done it since I was pretty early. I was an early adopter of covering the anti-lockdown people, but I haven't been doing it since fucking early days, you know, first protests or two, Thanos. I was right into it then, but I guess just the amount of grifters that proliferated, it was beyond me. It got beyond me. I got grifter fatigue, and I just didn't know where to begin, you know. I have hit the books a fair bit since then. I've read a lot of books about anti-vaxx and the anti-vaxx network, because I knew I needed to know more if I was going to keep talking about these people. Particularly now that we're in 2021, and, you know, obviously it's the year of the mandatory vaccination, so they say. Let's grab your Anon mask, grab your We Are the 99% shirt, and let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Australians.
Here we go, the fucking Darrow fucking boomer theatre begins. I don't know who this one is. Again, boomer fatigue. I probably read her name online. She's probably made $100,000 out of all this anti-lockdown shit. I don't know. Tell me in the comments or something. Look, she's soft sit flavoured. That's about all I know.
We are gathered here today to stand up for our rights. Now, we are here in light, in love, in peace, and lawfully, as we always are.
Oh, they love telling you how lawful they are.
I do want to make clear, just because it is quite it's fantastic, everyone here, but I'm still going to say, just in case we have any infiltrators here.
Antifa, fucking Antifa, Antifa, like in the US Capitol. I've seen it online. There's the Antifa what's done all that. It's the infiltrating and shit, you know, fucking. Anytime my side does anything bad, it's Antifa.
Are going to try and create some fake news for the media. We will not tolerate any aggression, violence,
and if we do tolerate any, it's an infiltrator.
So we are all peaceful. Everyone has been amazing at all our last protests. Every time there's been trouble, it's been an infiltrator. So we can all...
It's fucking convenient, isn't it? I love it. Fucking bulletproof logic there.
Want to give the police any reason to rush in and protect us, etc. Now...
Thank you, officer. I love this, like, every anti-lockdown protest has this, like, vacillating approach from speaker to speaker, like, thank you, Vic Pol, officer, sir, for doing your job, and then the next one's like, yeah, Vic Pol, you won't stop us, we're coming to take over, and then the next one goes and swings off their fucking groin again. Anyway.
I would also like to, first of all, honour the tribal sovereigns of this land.
Oh, fuck off. That's some soft-sit ass fucking way of... there's no template for an acknowledgement of country, but don't call them tribal sovereigns. That's based on that original sovereign tribal foundation shit, which is mostly just red-pilled fucking soft-sit boomers anyway. Don't call Indigenous people tribal sovereigns, you corny, weird cunt.
I then wish to honour our Anzacs, our forefathers who sacrificed their lives to ensure that our rights and our freedoms were in place.
Gallipoli Jesus.
Now I'm going to, we are experiencing the most abhorrent war in the history of mankind on a global scale.
I think that was probably World War II. Anyway.
Our rights, freedoms and protections are being destroyed under the very guise of keeping us safe from a non-existent pandemic.
These are these sort of core logical issues that you're always going to have with these people, aren't you? That no matter how much you might argue about the legal foundation that they think doesn't exist to introduce mandatory vaccinations or whatever, that ultimately, well, they're not going to believe in any of it because they don't believe in any of the pandemic stuff. Like, no, if all of it's garbage, how are you going to really have a productive conversation over the specifics?
With no medical, scientific or physical evidence. A pandemic that only exists because of a 24/7 mantra. That of the marketing campaign and strategy of the government, of the big pharma, through their complicit mainstream media, who are also concealing everything. The censorship has got to stop. We want the truth. I know there's going to be a lot of others. I'll just touch really briefly. We all know that these COVID tests are PCR tests. Kerry Mullis, the inventor of the PCR tests, categorically stated they were not to be used for testing for infectious disease. The PCR
No, she didn't. No. The inventor of the PCR test said that they can't be used to assess infectiousness because they don't really assess viral load. Like, what they do assess is the presence of something such as SARS-CoV-2 in your bloodstream by magnifying a particular particle until they can actually determine, even if a very small trace element of it exists there. So you could definitely find out if someone's got it. Not how much, that's when you do subsequent testing, and that's when you keep someone inside for 14 days, of course, after they test negative to that. But the PCR test definitely checks, it's the best way of checking if you have any trace amount. It's not perfect, but it checks if you have any trace amount of coronavirus in you, but it doesn't tell, is this person just coming off the coronavirus, and therefore not infectious anymore, or do they have a very high viral load in them? That's what it doesn't check.
These vaccines, and they're not vaccines, this is experimental bio-warfare on the people. They have not been approved.
No, well, they're definitely vaccines. They're live vaccines, and we haven't waited very long to see what their what the long-term effects of them is. It's understandable that you'd be worried about that, but I think probably calling them bio-warfare is a bit of a stretch. Do you know what I mean?
The FDA have not approved these vaccines, yet they...
Oh, well, that's America anyway. FDA are an American body.
They are saying that they are going to be available for emergency use. What emergency you would want to stick a protein that is going to do some sort of coding, affect your DNA, and compromise your immune system? I don't know what's going on.
I'll tell you what emergency. The coronavirus pandemic, it's killed 2.5 million people. About half of those are in the top 5 or 6 countries. 500,000 Americans dead, and that's with the entire world having, shut down flights and shut down, varying degrees of shutdown. That's specifically the emergency that would cause you to not wait to see the long-term effects of the vaccine like you normally might. Just clarifying that emergency, FYI.
We need full disclosure on everything. The people...
Well, luckily you have it. It's online.
Must have full disclosure. What?
I mean, full disclosure doesn't really mean that you have to look at any of it. Case in fucking point. But it's all there as it comes out. Particularly with the medical and the vaccine stuff, it's called, they release medical papers, research papers and such, which are all, particularly these days and related to this subject, are all very accessible. So just look them up, hey.
What is in these vaccines? I'm gonna go with the hierarchy here now. The hierarchy is our Almighty, our God, our Almighty Energy, the Creator.
Yeah!
We the people then sit below.
We the
Below us
people.
sits our Constitution, which is put in place to protect us from tyranny.
So the God and then we the people, like in the Americas and shit, and then the constitutions.
Government sit at the bottom rung of the ladder.
Yeah, get down there, you
They
fucking
are
suited
there for the
Canberra
sole
dog.
purpose to adhere to our will. We have a government that has gone ultra-virus. They have gone well beyond the power.
Full legal speak there. That means beyond the powers in full Latin and shit.
We, the people, gave them. Now, I'm just going to go over a couple of things here. So, I need everybody just to get just a basic understanding of this. These show directives come from the Public Health and Wellbeing Act.
Here we go. She's about to do the soft-sit thing with the laws.
Of Victoria 2008. It is a state act.
Yes.
The entire Public Health and Wellbeing Act has been designed around the CHO. Very interesting, they did it in 2008. As we know, this didn't occur just overnight. This has been...
laws have been going for ages. State laws, state legislation, federal legislation, it's all been going since the very early 1900s, really.
Planned for a very long time. So, most importantly, Public Health and Wellbeing Act 2008 is a state act. It is absolutely inconsistent with the Biosecurity Act 2015, which is a federal act. That in itself renders the Public Health and Wellbeing Act as null, void and invalid.
Well, it doesn't actually, no. So there's the federal law, the Biosecurity Act 2015, and that gives certainly does give the federal parliament the capacity to declare areas, anywhere nationwide as like a quarantine zone. They could do that in the same way that the states have been doing. It also allows them the powers for to restrict international travel and to do quarantine for international visitors, things like that. Stuff that you've seen that they've been doing since March 2020. They've been using those laws, and then the state laws allow, for example, Victoria to declare a public health, emergency. They allow Victoria to do all the things that they've done repeatedly, lockdowns and so on and so forth, any of those Chief Health Officer recommendations. Now, the Constitution says that if the federal law clashes, I suppose, or whatever the word is, with the state law, then the Commonwealth directive will supersede the state one. Obviously, as you saw throughout the last year, these things can have some overlap. So what you would want to do is to circumnavigate that, particularly during a pandemic, by having a good bit of discussion with each other. And so that's why they had that National Cabinet last year, just so that everyone was on the same page. You remember the National Cabinet? Almost daily at certain points, you'd have all the states and the Prime Minister and all the Chief Health Officers all getting together and hashing it out and making sure that they were as in step as they could be. So that's a bit of actual how law works for you.
Now, sections of the Biosecurity Act 2015 are inconsistent with our Constitution.
No.
So that renders those sections null, void and invalid.
No, there's nothing... the Biosecurity Act is... no, it doesn't.
We have got Section 109 of the Constitution. That clearly states anything that is inconsistent or repugnant to the Constitution is null, void and invalid. Nothing can be repugnant to it or inconsistent with it. All of this rubbish has got to stop. We need to make our government, our parliamentarians, accountable. And we are sick of seeing our Victoria Police being used as puppets in a political agenda. They have better things to do than protect the criminals in government.
they don't. Coppers don't have anything better to do. They're the armed wing of the state. It's exactly what they do.
We do this for all Australians. We do this for our Victorian police. We do it for their families, their wives, their children, their siblings, their parents. This is about all of us. They cannot possibly, you cannot make people have vaccines. That's all there is to it. Section 51...
Good news, they're not going to.
23A of the Constitution protects you. You cannot enforce civil conscription. And this includes blackmailing people, saying that you can't retain your job, you can't commence employment, or your child can't go to school or kindergarten if they haven't had a vaccine.
Well, you'll see so the civil conscription stuff that's contained under the Constitution certainly would clash, it would seem, with a mandated vaccination thing. But the nudge policies of the Australian federal government are not the same as saying you have to have a vaccine. What they say is you don't have to have one, but if you don't go and get one, then you can't come to school. And that's all we're going to see. That's what we're going to see again. I mean, we've all seen, so if your kid doesn't go and get the MMR jab or what have you, then you can't send your child to school, you can't claim certain benefits, so on and so forth. Those are the restrictions. Now, I'm not condoning the function of wedge policy per se, and I think there's an interesting discussion to be had around not just Australia, but the couple of other countries that have pursued a wedge policy path like Australia, and the effect that might have had on enabling the well-funded anti-vaxx network to appeal to the concerns of concerned young parents even more, therefore creating a larger anti-vaxx network. There is a lot of discussion around that, and I'm willing to have that chat. However, we need to get our terms right. The COVID jab is not going to be mandatory. You might not be able to go to your job, but that's employers who have the ability to be able to say that. And I'm sure they'll be supported by fucking whatever amendments need to be required to the Fair Work Act to enable that. I'm sure no one would stand in their way. Fucking Qantas are going to be able to say to you, and they've already intimated that they will do this, that you can't go on the plane unless you can demonstrate that you've had the jab. That is not the same as you being pinned down and forced to have a vaccination. But we can already see that, with the existing nudge policies against all the existing series of jabs your kid's supposed to have, that already exist. Parents who don't want to do it, they've had another option. They've gone for the homeschooling path. There are anti-vaxx childcare networks that have sprung up around Australia for preschool options, So it's not as though these parents don't have other options. They are creating them, These are different, we have to get our terms right. And there's a kind of a dishonesty in this premise of this rally that it's against the mandatory COVID vaccinations. That's the whole way that this series of millions marches around Australia were built, that they were against mandatory vaccinations. There is no discussion to be had around mandatory vaccinations because that's not what's happening. There is a discussion to be had around wedge policies and this whole kind of like denying people certain benefits or certain, very fundamental things such as the right to send your child to a public school and get an education. There's an interesting combo and I'd love to sit down and have that at a table. But these guys aren't doing that. They are fear-mongering. That is what they're doing because the biggest and best tool that the anti-vaxx network have to get more concerned or vaccine-hesitant new parents on board with them is through fear-mongering. And it also helps them to grift, because they're all a bunch of fucking grifters. Let's keep going.
We have got to wake people up just to the bare basics of the law of this land. Now, I just did a little bit of research the other day.
Oh, great.
The treason has been moved from the Federal Crimes Act. It now sits under the Criminal Code Act 1995, Chapter 5, Section 80.1AC.
Yes.
And it clearly states that it is treachery and treason if you try and override the Constitution. The penalty is life imprisonment. We need to stand up and make this bloody government accountable.
I love it. I love nothing more than hearing the word treason this lot.
Has never had anything to do with keeping us safe. We need our police to... And I really feel sorry for them because they're following orders from the executive sections of the police force. But please, officers, you need to look into this.
They've always got this like, they love this idea that there's going to be that Pepsi ad shit's going to happen where you hand the copper a Pepsi and they come on your side. They love it so much because they're obsessed with authority. They desperately want to be led. They want to convince the people leading them, with the jackboots leading them, that they're right, so that they, only lock up their enemies.
The supreme law of this land must be adhered to. I've also heard... could everybody please, just so we are making sure that we stay in line with directives, we will sort this out. Just so the police, can you just sort of like group together in 20?
Oh, you've seen what happened before. It's actually trying to talk. We're getting calls from upstairs here. I'm being
Peacefully, no peacefully. We need to get our message out there, so let's just...
But let's just do it peacefully. Let's just roll and get it done.
Fuck off! This is what's... They want them to stand in groups of 20 because otherwise the cops will come in and take them all away. This is how they get their ability to do these protests, in Victoria. But the people don't want to do it. So this is supposed to be about vaccinations, but you see what's really going on here. It's just people enjoying their right to do sort of influencer activist aesthetic and LARP as insurrectionists and to be a bit belligerent for a while.
Okay. All right, people. Stand up, wake everybody up to the supreme law of this land is being broken. Whoever wrote the Public Health and Wellbeing Act, sections of the Biosecurity Act, they can be charged with treason. So can every member of Parliament passing these acts. They are trying to override the Constitution.
Love the idea of everyone. I don't like being charged with treason and having their heads cut off in the public square. That's freedom.
Love you all. Thank you so much for coming. Love you all.
Love your work, mate. Love your fucking work. Freedom. Here's one of my favourite bits. Listen to this absolute loser in Sydney who's like talking to people. This is great.
I said it last time. These events, these are Woodstock. This is the Berlin Wall coming down again, and you are here and you are taking chunks.
He goes, this is Woodstock. This is the Berlin Wall, and you're taking chunks. This tells you everything you need to know about this whole movement. These people, they can't understand. This is sort of like contrived activist aesthetic theatre. They don't know if it's a concert or an actual moment in political history. It's neither. It's an opportunity for them to all to LARP as activists together. It doesn't mean anything. Like I said before, really, they're all getting together under the guise of it being about vaccinations, but it's just an extension, and all the same people as from the earlier anti-lockdown stuff. It's just an opportunity for them to be belligerent in public and to LARP, Pepsi ad style, as activists over nothing.
We're all leaders in this. You were there and you got the t-shirt. Well, you will if you buy one. They're up the back for sale, just $30. That's right, just $30. If you want to buy a t-shirt up there, then go and grab one. They're nearly sold out. But we're also giving out prizes for the best banner. So hold up your banners right now. Let me have a look.
Now we've got an anti-vaxxer here and a deregistered chiropractor.
I really want to take these couple of minutes to say to you all and suggested that I introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Barham-Floriani and I have been a veteran in this area for a number of decades. And like all of you, 2020 was a heartache. And I handed in my license because I was no longer going to be silenced.
Yeah! No, she didn't actually. The Chief Health Registration Authority in Australia, AHPRA, they contacted her and said they were going to deregister her. So instead of contesting it or waiting for their decision, she handed it in advance. Basically, she's just a deregistered chiropractor. She doesn't know a fucking thing about vaccinations. Yeah! Freedom!
It's a battle. It is a battle right now between good and evil.
Anyone telling you that their form of activism is a battle between good and evil, well, you should wonder whether you perhaps should be participating in it, I'll tell you what.
It is a battle between humanity against the industry, and the industry that has taken over our government and our health departments, and against the perverse financial incentives of anyone who is gaining financially right now. So if we
Can I say that I saw an article from last year which said that social media firms, marketing and such, possibly make up to $1 billion a year from anti-vaccination sentiment. People like Andrew Wakefield, you know, the Don Dudders of the anti-vaxx grifting scene, are rich. They're filthy rich. And unlike governments, big pharma or what have you, there are no checks and balances in place. No regulating bodies, no nothing to verify the veracity of what they say. They can lie at will. They can manipulate the grieving and overburdened parents of sick or dead children to convince them that it's this vaccine or that vaccine, and then they can use those grieving or sad or overburdened parents as a kind of an armour surrounding them, so that whenever you question Wakefield, actually you're just questioning all these parents. They're world record grifters. I thought I knew grifters until I started really looking at the people who helped to make the anti-vax scene what it is. And again, there are people, vaccine hesitancy is something that I think should not be being demonised as a fertile anti-vax core network. It is different. And indeed, you can see that the medical sector are trying to distinguish between the two. So I hope that the conversation's moving forward, and I hope that we can have a more nuanced conversation in the future about that and about things like the government's wedge policies, no jab, no play, and so on and so forth. I hope that we can have all those things. But the point is that as long as these fucking grifters, these unchecked, unbalanced, untested grifters and compulsive liars are leading the anti-vaccine, that conversation will never fucking happen. Because this person, but more so, I don't know so much about her. I know she has a pretty lucrative career off of making books out of this shit. But more so the people at the top of the scene, like Andrew Wakefields, they would not benefit from a nuanced conversation about vaccines. They never would. They don't want that. They want the money that they get from being on the top of that scene.
But it is imperative that each of us get educated about what is in these vaccines. What are the ingredients? What are the risks? What are the consequences? And it's imperative that we maintain our right to say yes or no.
Yeah!
Luckily, you have it, because the vaccines aren't mandatory. Anyway.
To any vaccine, or all vaccines.
Yeah!
Yep, they're all non-mandatory. They all have wedge policies encouraging parents or penalising them for not doing it, but they are not mandatory in Australia.
Listen to your conscience, listen to your gut, listen to God, listen to whoever.
Yes!
But irrespective of our race, our religion, our culture, we are here today gathered because we do not consent.
Yeah! They love that term. I don't consent. They love it.
We will not go away.
That's right!
We are reclaiming our freedom,
Yeah.
our justice.
Yeah.
Because do you know what? We the people are educated.
Yes!
We the people are educated. We the people are educated. Now, we've got the really fun part here, which is Councillor Catherine Cumming. She's getting up. She wants to have her say. She's a state MP. She was with Darren Hinch's Justice Party very briefly. Now she's an independent. And she thought she'd come along and have a chat to him. Didn't go so well.
Guest today, we have Catherine Cumming, who is an MP in Parliament here. And putting it quite simply, I am pro-vaccine, but I'm also pro-medical consent.
Okay, so she hasn't exactly gone with the crowd here, but because remember, it is supposed to be a vaccines rally, anti-vaxx rally, but she said she's pro-vax, she doesn't mind the right to choice, which is, again, it's the laws we have in Australia. But think about that, they don't mind that at their anti-vax rally, but they do mind the next bit.
Now, we have a little situation here that we, as everyone here, and we all agree that protesting and being peaceful is the most important thing that we can actually do.
Yeah.
And then one of the other most important things for us to do, so we're not seen by the others. Could I ask you all, please, to actually start to social distance? No, please, please.
Which political party?
They're not happy with this. And remember, there were people that were asking them to do the same thing before, like the organisers of the rally, so that the cops don't come and get them. And they got a bit mad, but they kind of reluctantly did it. Don't like that she used the words social distance, because that sounds like what Dan and all the commies, the CCP, Labor, bloody, ABC commies say.
Please. No.
Yeah, fuck off.
You need to hear your voice. You need to hear mine.
We did.
And in all respect, we all understand. We all understand. We all understand. If you are here,
Start spacing back. Take a few steps back.
Oh, here we go.
Do what you want. Alright? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go next.
All right, now hang on. This is Monica Smith. She runs Reignite Democracy Australia. I have not yet talked about her because, again, grifter overload. But she's one of the most successful grifters out of all of the grifters of this movement. Her group, Reignite Democracy Australia, is a very popular page online. We don't know how much she has received in crowdfunding and donations, but we suspect it's a lot. In fact, I would suspect that Monica and Avi Yemeni are probably the biggest beneficiaries from grifting throughout the anti-lockdown movement. Him for being a fake journalist, her for being a fake, political activist. Now, she's just done this opportunistic interruption here. Now we're going to get into our big Braveheart moment. By the way, watch her putting on the gloves so she can do a little trick at the end. This is real fucking fake activist theatre here. You'll love it. Love to see it. Look, on the gloves. Yeah! Fuck yeah! We the people! We the people! Big we the people moment here.
The gloves will make sense, I promise.
Oh,
As long as it's not 36 degrees. You know how they say that when a door closes, a window opens? It's so cliche, but the door is Bill Gates, it's Fauci, it's Scott Morrison, it's Daniel Andrews, and we are the window. That's right. Look around you. Look around you. Make eye contact with the people around you, because these are the people that are fighting for you. For your future. For your children's future. And you know what, police? No offense, but you can do whatever you want to us. You can fight us, put us in jail,
a little Randy Savage here.
And guess what? We're coming for all the marginal seats.
We're coming for you.
I hope you've had fun. You need to start looking for another job because you're done. You can't stop us. You have awakened a monster that is not going back to sleep.
WWE, I love it so much. It's so good.
The fire in our bellies, it is so bright. You cannot stop it. You created this. You don't have to deal with it. Because guess what?
Hell, this is
We
real
have
action.
God on our side.
God's with us.
This is between good and evil, and we are the good, and good always prevail.
Just every cliche.
The most dangerous person in the world is someone who's got nothing left to lose. Well, guess what? You created us, and we've got nothing left to lose.
You've got lots of donations to lose, as I understand it, like huge amounts, you know, I imagine. I mean, if you think about how Harvey Yemeni got in excess of $100,000 for his grift, and I suspect she's probably doing way better than him all up. How much money is she sitting on? She's got all of that to lose. That's someone with a huge financial interest in the continuation of this grift.
We're not going to stay here like this ever. We're coming for you. For your job. That's right. And you know what? You know what? If anyone's been following me, they would know that I've been towing the line. I've been a reporter. Yeah. I've been doing everything right. Well, guess what? The gloves are coming off.
Oh, yes! We're coming! This is a real, that's a Martin Luther King moment. That's her I Have a Dream. She full reckons that's her. She goes, we are coming! She said it at the start and at the end. She fucking rehearsed the shit out of this. And she wanted to, she took the gloves off. Straight up, I have a dream movement, babe. You fucking killed it now. I reckon every cunt's gonna full rise up now. America, America, America. She's like, her endorphins are pinging hardcore at the moment.
Gonna run out. You want to give a message before we turn off?
We are coming. That's my
Yes.
message.
Alright.
Oh, I love that. She's so happy. I just had to put that in there afterwards because fucking she's just so happy that she said we're coming. She's a full fucking, she's gone full Martin Luther King now, I reckon. That's the full moment where like everyone in Australia just wakes up, you know? Wakes up to this bloody communist dictatorship in Victoria. I reckon it's full fucking time for everyone to wake up.
See you guys.
I love this edge comes right at the end. This is our last hit. This is it. This is it after this. Look at these tennis boomers here. So they've this is what you do when you want to do political theatre, but you're a fucking complete and utter Dero normie. So I don't know why they've got the tennis shit on, but they do. But anyway, look at this woman. She goes, what? This one here, the one next to my head, she goes and she approaches the coppers. You know what I've got? I've got freedom.
You are not going to tell me I can't walk the path.
She goes, you are not going to tell me that I can't walk the path. But they're not blocking the path. They're like actually just standing there. Clearly they're not blocking anyone from going anywhere because they're standing on the side of a path. So she's decided to walk into the front of 4 people on cop horses who aren't even in the way of the protest anyway. They're just stationed there and say to them that they can't tell her where she can walk. Well, they weren't telling you where you could walk. Anyway, God bless these people. Freedom. Love your work, everyone. Thanks for defending me freedoms.